Hello, everybody. Back again with a new story. This one's called Trephine. I'm going to start it right now. Jolie and Darren followed the asphalt ribbon from the hills into the low-lying Pennsylvanian farmland. It was the farthest south Jolie had ever been. She adjusted her position in the back seat, scratched the dog's head, and smoothed the blankets on her lap. She'd been on the road with Darren for 6 months. Before that, after her release, she'd rented a clean and warm trailer that sat in the back field of an old farm. The farmhouse roof peeked over a division of trees, the chimney sputtering clouds of wood smoke on cold evenings. The farmer's widow only charged her $50 a month. Each morning, Jolie awoke with the dawn, pleased to stare through the window as the sun bloomed over the grass, the trees, the long fallow fields engulfed with foxglove and aster and hollyhock. She followed the movements of the crows as they marked ever-shifting boundaries with simple language. But that was before Darren broke his parole by robbing a Hallmark, where he'd gone to buy her a birthday gift. She'd known him for a brief few months, and although she hadn't been smitten by his looks or his dim attentions, he wasn't mean, and he demanded nothing and required little, so she spent a few nights a week with him when she wasn't waiting tables. On the day in question, Jolie agreed to stay in the car so that whatever he bought would be a surprise. Inside, he saw the cash drawer sluice open, and those green bills all flat and orderly trapped his attention in a mystical trawl, and he'd had little choice but to follow the dictates of his nature. Back in the car, he tried to justify his actions in an excited, incoherent jabber. "Please," Jolie said, "just drive." She missed her little trailer immediately, knew it was gone forever. Darren had a felony record and had done 2 years for breaking and entering. Consorting with former or current felonious persons violated the stipulations of her parole. That afternoon, she spent an hour with her head on a swivel, sure she'd see the flashing lights pulsing in the encroaching dusk, sure she'd be wearing a jumpsuit before dawn. But as it happened, Darren was adept at these small larcenies, and her contribution to their continuing spree, simply waiting in the car and planning the escape route, seemed innocent. Darren's dream was to raise hunting dogs, but he lost track of that goal when they spied vulnerable knick-knack shops or fruit stands or candle stores in tourist towns, or, like today, a scrapbooking store called Forget-Me-Not. She sat in the back seat with the dog, waiting for Darren. It was all part of the deal. She didn't want to be directly implicated in any new crimes. Although he was only gone a few moments, she grew instantly sleepy. She closed her eyes and had a quick, vivid dream of cotton candy, mounds and mounds of it, fluffy and pink, dissipating on her tongue. She'd woke after what seemed like a long time to Darren opening the door. They'd parked around the corner from the store, tucked in between 2 large SUVs. Darren stripped away his mask, caught his breath, and changed his sweatshirt. Jolie consulted her map. They waited for the shock of the robbery to dull into a nervous acceptance. When the police arrived, Darren pulled the car around the block, and they'd driven away like any number of other cars crowding the street. Later, after an hour driving through cornfields bordered by split-rail fencing, Darren broke the silence. "How you doing back there?" he said. "I'm hungry," Jolie said. "So's Randolph." "Me too. Let's stop." "Go a bit further. Go another 15 miles. I'll be okay. I wish it wasn't so late. I'm in the mood for an Egg McMuffin." At these words, Randolph perked his ears. 3 months ago, they found him sitting at the intersection of 2 busy roads, as if waiting for a bus. And when Darren stopped at the light, Jolie opened the door, and the dog stood slowly and stiffly, wagging its tail. "Come on," she said. She patted the seat, and he climbed in. She appreciated his chucklehead, his bony and solid mass sharing the back seat. But she worried about his former owners, and some small girl crying into her pillow over a long-lost dog. Randolph knows the words Egg McMuffin, Jolie said. Of course he does, Darren said. He's no dummy. If she were to leave this dog by the side of the road, he'd survive, wind up in a better car with better owners. Darren, on the other hand, would be hopeless and lost, returning to the same towns over and over, committed to his thievery until he was arrested and remanded to the state penitentiary. It was Jolie who tracked the stores and towns, who kept them focused and sustainable. Several times they'd stop for a few weeks, and it was Jolie that worked. Darren had never held down a job longer than a couple of paychecks, and his interest in work hovered like a hazy fantasy, quickly burning off in the light of each day. The money was Jolie's department, too. She'd opened an account at Bank of America and set aside a bit of each payday, legal or not, for deposit. Now she had $700 beneath the underwear in the pack, too much to carry. The weight of it made her nervous. As they drove into a small town, she saw the bank sign. "Pull over," she said. "I gotta make a deposit." She never worried about Darren robbing anything so large as a bank. He knew his limitations. Banks were bright and unforgiving, like churches. Here, the tables were turned, and Darren sat in the car while Jolie went inside. "I don't trust them crooks," he said. That's it for today. Thanks. More tomorrow.